Welcome to Sakshi TV's special immigration show with attorney Ms. Prashanthi Reddy from the Law Offices of Prashanthi Reddy PLLC. Please note that Sakshi TV now has 3 immigration shows every week on Tuesday at 3 p.m. EST with attorney Ms. Sheila Murthy, Wednesday at 5:30 p.m. EST with attorney Prashanthi Reddy in English, and on Friday at 6 p.m. EST with attorney Bhanu Ilindra. Please tune in to ask your questions. If you're an immigration attorney and would like to join our special shows, please email us at usa@sakshi.com or call 866-725-7441. Before we begin the show, please note that the information provided on this show is not a legal advice and is for general informational purposes only. Sakshi TV or its agents will not be responsible for use of information. If you need specific legal advice, please contact the attorney directly. Ms. Prashanthi needs no introduction, but if you need consultation, please log on to reddyesq.com for contact information. And when you connect with them, don't forget to mention Sakshi TV. From the beginning, reddyesq.com has put a wealth of free information and online tools in the hands of immigrant community and for the benefit of US employers. The reddyesq.com site provides you with the latest and cutting-edge information on US immigration, law and policies explained in terms you don't have to be a lawyer to understand. Today's topic is the H1 registration process. We will continue the knowledge session along with the news and updates on latest immigration, followed by Q&A. Hello Ms. Reddy, how are you doing?
I'm good, thanks Tony. How are you?
Very well, thank you. So Ms. Reddy, we're talking about the H1B registration process today, and do you want to get started right away? Are there any updates that you want to give us?
Maybe start with the registration process and then give you some updates on the registration process itself as to what to expect this year. But I thought since March is coming up, it's not too early to talk about H1B registrations, and then, you know, we can continue to talk about the nuances of it in the next few episodes. But just to start and to give people a reminder, because it's been a year since H1B registration has been talked about, because that only happened last year in March, and now it's going to happen again in March. We don't have a date as yet as to when the H1B registration process is going to open up. For those who don't know what H1B registration is, every year 80,000 new H1Bs visas open up. This is for people who have never been on a H1, and for those people, this is called the H1B Cap, and there is a limited number of numbers. So the H1B is capped by those numbers. It's 65 plus 20, so it's 85,000. And they have a new process in place, which is started about 2 years ago. And the process is that you first register on the website with basic information. And once you register, they will then, based on that registration information, do a lottery. They will conduct a lottery, and then based on the people who get picked in the lottery, you have 90 days to file the your H1B petition. So that's the H1B registration process. There have been some pitfalls and some adjustments that I think need to be made, but in general it's been a success. But as I said, there might be some improvements that are needed, and there's some lawsuits that have been filed, and we'll talk about the changes that are likely to happen, that are on the horizon, you know, once we finish with the actual nitty-gritties of the H1B registration process. So to start off, H1B Cap petitioners, so the employers who want to file a H1B Cap petition can create an account. They should start off by creating an account on myuscis.gov, and then follow certain steps to, you know, create an account. So first you have to go, step 1 is you go to myuscis.gov, then you go to sign up, then you have to enter your email address and then give an email confirmation, and then click again sign up, and then create a password, and make sure you don't share that password with anyone, with an unauthorized person. And then there's a 2-step verification process. So select whatever method you want, either SMS or text or email. You'll have options of selecting the verification method. Then you'll have to provide some answers for in order to reset your password in case you forget your password. Make sure you remember those questions and answers. We'll be able to reset your password if you forget it. Then the next one is to select the category. So you should select I am a H1B registrant. Don't start a registration right now, just select I am a H1B registrant. And then if you are, especially if you have an attorney, you should just select I am a H1B registrant. If you are registering yourself, you can say start a registration, so depending on what you're doing. If you are registering through an attorney, you don't say start a registration, you select receive a passcode from the attorney, as the attorney will do it for you and send you a passcode. So the step before is you have to select I am a H1B registrant. Then depending on whether you're doing it yourself or not, you should select start a registration or receive a passcode from your attorney. Then if you're receiving a passcode from your attorney, you review and accept the G28, and you accept the H1B registration, and you click in the authorize box. You say I authorize, and you click that box and you sign and you finish and send. So if that is if you're doing it through an attorney, because the attorney is doing the rest for you. If you are doing it yourself, then you have to enter the following information in order to file the registration. You need the name of the H1B applicant, the first name, the middle name, and the family name. You need the gender. You need to know whether you're selecting the US Masters Cap or H1B quota. As we know, there are two separate quotas and two separate lotteries that are held for US Masters and people with the H1B quota. So if a person has a US Master's degree, public organization, or a non-profit organization, then you have to select US Masters. They could have either completed the Masters, or they should be in a position to complete it before filing the H1. So in either case, you should select US Masters, otherwise you would select H1B, bachelor's quota. Then you would need to enter the person's date of birth, country of citizenship, and the passport number. Passport number is optional. You can process even if there's no passport number, but if you have two people with the same name, and if you don't enter the passport number, they would most probably reject both, because there's no way for them to know that they're two different people. They just think that you filed a duplicate. That's what USCIS is going to think. From the point of view of the company, you need, of course, the name of the company that you have to enter. If there's a DBA or doing business as, you have to enter that. You have to enter the employment identification number, EIN number, FEIN number, so you have to keep that handy. And also the US address. Now, if your company's address changes after doing the registration, you can still register, but you have to show you can still file the H1B application, but you have to show at the time of filing the H1B application that it's the same company, and then they move proof of new address, etc. So you have to write that separately in a cover letter. Now, there's some points to remember for the H1B registration, and we can discuss that now. So the points to remember is, you already have an account. Please log in, because this is not the first time that the H1B registration has been open. Many of you employers will already have an account. So log in and check in advance. Make sure that your account is still active, because you don't want to be entering this information in the last minute and then you realize that your account is not active and then you miss the deadline. If H1B Cap petitioner has created their account before, if you have an attorney, make sure that you have created your account before the attorney has started registration for you. Otherwise, there will be an issue. So first create your account, then have your attorney start the registration process. Always select I am a H1B registrant. Okay, don't select anything else, because then it won't work. Use the email. The user email should be the same as the email that you shared with your attorney. So the H1B Cap registration, only one email, you should share that email with your attorney. Don't share your other email, because then it won't work. So a beneficiary with no first name or no last name should just enter one name, or whatever name they have. Don't use acronyms such as FNU or LNU or unknown or no name given, don't enter that. We do that in the I-129 forms, but we don't do that when we're doing the registration. Remember, you don't need to file an LCA before you do an registration. You do the registration first. If it gets picked, then you file the LCA.
Right.
Remember that you cannot edit or update the information once the registration is submitted. So enter your information. If you're not sure, don't submit it. Keep it pending. You can keep it in pending status. And then once you're sure, then only hit the submit button. Mention the name of the beneficiary as per passport. Please mention the same name in the same order. If you don't, and then when you actually file the H1B petition, there could be an issue if the name is a mismatch. Then you would have to show that it's the same person. Make sure you clear your cookies regularly so that the portal works well for you. So those are some of the tips I have. Tony, you can take it from here.
Right. So, Ms. Reddy, now that you've given us tips, and I hope that our viewers have made a good note about every information that Ms. Reddy has given till now. So now we're moving on to the FAQs. So, Ms. Reddy, is there an appeal process for registrations determined to be invalid duplicates?
Right. So for those, as I said, if you file two cases for the same person, or if you file two people with the same name, and you don't enter the passport number, they'll most probably be rejected, and there is no appeal process for those cases that are rejected as duplicates.
Right. Okay. So if you're registering for the master's degree, for the master's cap based on the expectation that the beneficiary will earn a qualifying advanced degree, and you are actually selected under the master's cap, but the beneficiary does not obtain their qualifying advanced degree, is there a risk that the cap subject H1B petition for that beneficiary will be denied?
Yes, absolutely. So what happens is, if a registration is submitted requesting that it be considered under the advanced degree exemption, because the beneficiary has earned or will most probably get a master's degree from a US institution of higher education, and then the registration is selected as an advanced degree exemption, the beneficiary must be eligible for an advanced degree exemption at the time of filing the I-129 petition. So if the beneficiary is selected under that master's cap and he has not yet received the qualifying master's degree at the time of filing the petition, then the petition will definitely be denied or rejected. So he should, even if the person has not received the actual degree, as long as he is qualified under the master's cap, you don't have to show the actual degree, but you have to show that you have met all the other requirements to earn a master's degree. So there should be no credits left over, no thesis left over. It could be sometimes that your actual degree is delayed because you have not paid the fee or the convocation has not yet taken place. That doesn't matter, but you have to have met all the conditions to get the master's degree. So as long as that has happened, yes, you can continue to file under the master's cap. Otherwise, if you file, it's going to get rejected. So there's no point of really filing then.
Right, right. So moving on to our next question, Ms. Reddy, how will USCIS address a scenario where the prospective employer with a selected registration puts an address on their registration but moves before they file their I-129 petition, such that the addresses on the registration and Form 129 do not match?
Right. So I kind of alluded to this earlier on. Petitions won't be rejected solely because the petitioner's address on the registration and the petition are not the same. However, in these situations, there has to be a statement from the petitioner explaining why there's a difference in address. So maybe they have moved from one address to another. You also have to include other address proof. You have to include the federal ID number, FEIN document showing address on it. You can submit a certificate of good standing. You can submit other documentation to verify the correct address. So it could be that maybe you didn't move, but you just entered a wrong address. You put a wrong suite number or you put a wrong zip code. So as long as you're able to show that your correct address is so and so, then it will not be denied. But if USCIS is not able to make a determination that the petitioner entity is the same as the entity filing the I-129, then you'll have a problem. Then the petition will be denied. So you have to show that it's the same person, same company, even though the address is different, and explain why the address is different.
Right. Would the same answer apply to if there was a typo on the registration in comparison to the I-129? Will USCIS reject the application based on typos?
So again, they won't automatically reject the application based on a typo, but it's up to the petitioner. The burden is with the petitioner to prove that all the information in the petition is correct, and also show that it was a valid registration done, and the beneficiary's name, the beneficiary is the same, and the petitioner is the same. The most important is USCIS should not doubt that it's a different beneficiary you filed for and now you're filing for someone else, or a different company filed for registration and some other company is attempting to file for the H1B petition. So if a typo can create such an issue or such can create a doubt, and you're not able to explain the typo or show that it's the same petitioner or the same beneficiary, then you will have a problem and your petition will get rejected.
Right, right. Okay, so where should a petitioner with a selected registration file file their form 129 and supporting documentation?
So it's no longer the old process whereby if you stay in a certain state you have to file in Vermont, if you stay in California you have to file in California. It's not like that anymore. So the petitioner should file at the location that's indicated in the H1B selection notice. So if your H1B registration gets selected, you will get a selection notice. In that notice, there will be an address that you should file, which with instructions on where to file. So it's very important that you follow that address that's mentioned in the selection notice and you file there. If you file as per the USCIS website to the direct filing addresses, then your H1B Cap petition will get returned. And if it gets returned after the 90-day period, then you will not be able to refile your H1B petition. So it's important that you follow the address that's mentioned in the H1B selection notice.
Right, right. So, Ms. Reddy, moving on to our next question. What happens if a legal representative submits a registration but subsequently ceases to represent the registrant?
Right, so we're saying that if you have an attorney and you decide to go ahead without the attorney and file it yourself, or maybe use a new attorney to file it, no problem. Yeah, no problem. Because you have access to your registration portal, you can print out your H1B selection notice, and so you don't really have to stick to the attorney that registered your H1B Cap cases. You can go with another attorney or you can file yourself as well.
Right. So if a...
But just to note, Tony, it will not be possible to add a new attorney to your H1B registration portal. So
as in for an existing application?
Yes, you will not be able to add a new attorney to the portal. So if you need to do new registrations, then you'll just have to create a new portal and then have that attorney do that. So yeah, the system will not prevent a representative or an attorney from registering for that person, but as I said previously that a new attorney can be added to the system. You can file through a different attorney, no problem whatsoever, or you can file by yourself as well. So that's not an issue at all. So I'll leave it at that.
Right. So, Ms. Reddy, we're going towards another question. If a prospective petitioner submits registrations on behalf of unrelated beneficiaries who happen to have the same name, date of birth and no passport numbers, would those registrations be considered as duplicates?
Yes, because as I said earlier, they have no way of knowing if you don't enter the passport number. That's why we encourage everyone to include the passport number when you're registering, because if you don't include it and if you have two people that even have a similar sounding name, USCIS might reject it as a duplicate. And as we have seen before, there is no process to appeal a rejection based on duplication.
Right, right. So, also Ms. Reddy, will the system prevent the representative and the registrant from both entering the same beneficiary?
No, there is, unfortunately, the system is not clever enough to detect duplicates. So when there is a duplicate, it will not detect it. It will allow you to enter duplicates, and then both will get denied. So this is very important, because sometimes when you're entering maybe 40-50 cases, it's possible that you have an Excel sheet which has a duplicate, and you might just follow that Excel sheet and enter that information again, and the system will not alert you, and both those cases will get denied. So it's important that before you submit a registration, go through all your list of beneficiaries and make sure there are no duplicates.
Right.
And also sometimes, Thorni, registrations are done out of two different offices, or maybe two different people will do, HRs will do registration. So they might not know that the other HR submitted that particular beneficiary before. So it's important to have one person access the account and take care of this, so there's no confusion and no duplication.
Right. Again, I hope all our viewers are making notes of these very insightful information. But moving on to our next question, Ms. Reddy, can an employer see how many registrations have been submitted by other companies?
No, they cannot.
Right.
They can only see the registration that was submitted by their particular company. They don't have access to that other registrations.
Right. So, what if USCIS gets enough registrations on the first day? Can employees still continue to register?
Yeah, so the registration window is open for 20 days, I believe, every year. So you continue to register, submit your registrations for those 20 days. And then at the end of the 20 days, they will take all the registrations that come in, and then they will have a lottery. So that's how it works. So they allow the registrations to be entered. There's no 1 day timeline. There's a 20-day period to enter registrations.
Right. Since you just spoke about the lottery, Ms. Reddy, so is there, when submitting a registration for the H1B visa, is a H1B lottery, I mean, is the client letter required?
So client letter is not required at the time of registration. You don't require any information other than the information that I told you, the name, address, etc. You don't need to show that there is a valid job offer at the time of registration. That has to be done only at the time of filing the I-129 petition.
Right. Right. So, Ms. Reddy, what should be entered if the H1B beneficiary does not have a last name?
So, if there's no last name, then you just leave that blank. That's it. There's no need to enter any information.
Right. Right.
So, a lot of people ask, what happens if a payment initially clears? So, there is a payment, a $10 fee
Right.
for doing the registration. And the question is, what happens if someone's payment initially clears but subsequently fails? So all these payments are done via electronic check, or they're done via credit card. So it's possible that that could happen. So it's the petitioner's responsibility to submit a valid payment while paying with the check, or by make sure you enter the proper routing number, the proper bank account number. Enter everything accurately, and also make sure that you click all the proper buttons. While the status of the registration in the system will indicate submitted following the completion of payments, you have to make sure that the payment has actually gone through and it clears with your bank. So if your information is not accurate, or if your payment is declined by the bank because the bank doesn't know what kind of transaction, or suspects fraud or something like that, then it's possible that your payment might get declined, and then your H1B registration will be cancelled. There was a company that did 30-40 registrations and their bank declined it. And unfortunately, this was done after the period of registration. So, and they couldn't re-register again. So it's important, number one, to do your registrations as soon as possible, so that if there is a rejection by the bank or you've entered some information wrong and it gets rejected, you have the opportunity to re-register, because there is 20 days to register. So do it on the first day if possible. The question is, will both the attorney, if there is an attorney involved, will both the attorney and the client need to create a USCIS online account for the registration process? So we know this. Even if you have an attorney, there is some verification process that the petitioner needs to do. So both the attorney and the petitioner have to create an online account. So first the petitioner has to create an online account, as I detailed earlier, and then they have to give that account information to the attorney. Then the attorney will create an application, a registration for that particular petitioner and beneficiary, and then they will send that information to the petitioner's account. Then the petitioner will receive that information from the attorney and they will accept it. They will accept and review the G28 and sign, and then they will accept it, and then once they accept it, then the attorney will get again, all this seems complicated, but it's pretty seamless. The attorney will get information on their portal that the client accepted and reviewed the application, and then they have to hit submit. So it is possible, it is necessary for two accounts to be open.
Right. So with that, Ms. Reddy, we come to the end of our session on H1B registrations. So for all our viewers, I hope that all of this insightful information was not only valuable but very useful, and you've made note of it, because the registrations are opening up in March again. So keep coming back to our show to ask Ms. Reddy more questions about this, if any, and to gather more information about H1B registrations opening up very soon. Thank you, Ms. Reddy. It's a pleasure to have you on the show.
Thank you, Tony. It's a pleasure to be here.
Right. So you're watching Sakshi TV. Thank you so much. This is Torni signing off.